Right. Welcome everyone to Cooking 5 Ways Canned Pumpkin. My name is Piali Callahan. I'm here with my coworker and friend, Nancy Target, and we are thrilled to have with us Razan. Um, and a little few words about Razan Sahuri before she starts her presentation. Razan Sahuri works at the University of Maryland Extension. She is Howard County's Maryland SNAP Ed nutrition educator. Razan holds a bachelor's degree in nutrition and dietetics and a master's degree in public health. Through her work with UME, Razan partners with Howard County Public School System, Head Start Centers, and the Howard County Food Bank to deliver nutrition education to students, parents, and teachers. These collaborations also involve leveraging resources between Maryland SNAP Ed and local community agencies to facilitate greater access to and availability of healthy food options and influence the adoption of policy, systems, and physical environment changes related to a healthier lifestyle. So without further ado, here is Razan Sahuri.
Well, thank you, Piali, and thank you, Nancy, for having me, and thank you for everybody for joining us today. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Today's presentation is going to be hopefully very quick. So it's a mini series, as we like to call it. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So, while I'm talking, if anybody thinks of any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. And once we're doing the cooking part, maybe while, the food is cooking, I can go ahead and answer some of those questions. Let me walk you through today's presentation or the agenda for today. So first of all, we're going to talk about benefits of pumpkins. So why are we even interested in pumpkins other than the fact that they taste good if you like them? The second part is why use canned pumpkin in particular. And then we're going to move to the 5 ways to use canned pumpkins. And then towards the end, I'm going to open it up for Q&As, but please feel free to add your questions at any time. So pumpkins, as I was mentioning before, when we think of pumpkins, we think of fall, we think of decor, and then we think of a lot of nice recipes in our kitchens. As you know, pumpkins, they're an excellent source of vitamin A, vitamin C. They're loaded with a lot of nutrients, so they're great for your immune system. They help with heart health, with eyesight, and they also help prevent some cancers. Also, the great thing about them is that they're high in fiber and they're low in calories. So they're nutrient dense. For 1 cup, let's say, of cooked pumpkin, you'll get a lot of nutrients for very little calories. And when I'm talking about pumpkins, I'm just talking about pure pumpkin, not when we add, other things to them. So when you get canned pumpkins, you have to look at the can itself, because sometimes there's just pure pumpkin, and then there's the ones that the filling, like the pie filling, where they add other things. So at that point, they're no longer low in calories. All right. So why canned pumpkin in particular? As you know, pumpkins are seasonal. We start seeing them in September, and towards the end of the fall, they're gone. So one of the great things about canned pumpkin is you can find them all year long, especially if you enjoy them. So you can have them in your pantry at any time, and you can use them at any time. Because of that, they're very affordable, especially, some grocery stores where they have their own generic brands. You can find them in all, if not all, grocery stores. They're not expensive. They're very easy to use. So, once you have that can, you just open it up and it's ready to use, not like the fresh pumpkin. Don't get me wrong. I love fresh pumpkin. It's my favorite choice. But sometimes, when I'm in a hurry, it's much easier just to open that can and use it. And also, if you grow pumpkins or you get a lot of fresh pumpkins, you can also turn them into your own pumpkin puree. So that's also easy. And as I said, it saves a lot of prep time in the kitchen. So moving to the 5 ways, I just want to check the poll. Nancy or Piali, can you let me know what's the majority of the poll? It was dinner, right? It was dessert, correct?
It was dessert, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So we can go ahead and end it. So it looks like, you know, the majority uses it for dessert and then for dinner. The great thing about pumpkins, you can use it anytime. You can use it in any meal. And I'm going to walk you through that. We're going to talk about 5 different ways, and then I'm going to show you 2 different recipes. All the recipes that you see here, you're going to get at the end of the session. So don't worry, you don't have to take notes. You'll have those. So the first, okay, this is not working. Let me check. My slide is not moving. Oh, sorry. Just for some reason, my mouse is no longer working. All right, so the first thing is breakfast. I know this sounds a little bit, you know, different, but the first thing is if you enjoy oatmeal, the nice thing, you can just add pumpkin puree to it. And there's no particular quantity. It's how much you love to have that pumpkin flavor in it. So you can add it, you know, with your milk. If you cook it with milk, or if you cook it with water, you can add pumpkin spice or cinnamon. You can add some nuts to it. So you can have that fall flavor to it, which is, you know, on one side it tastes good, and on the other side as well, it's very healthy. And then you can make pancakes with it. And that's one of the recipes that you're getting today. So you can make pancakes, you can make waffles. So basically you just add it to the batter, usually 2 cups of flour. You'll just go ahead and add to it 1/2 cup of pumpkin. If, again, you feel that you don't really taste it, you'd like more prominent taste, you can add more. Or if you feel that it's too much, you can go ahead and reduce that. All right. Again, my mouse is not working. I'm going to try and drag it. All right. So the second thing is soup, lunch, sorry. And I chose a soup. Like one of you said that they make pumpkin soup. So usually when I make pumpkin soup, it used to be only pumpkins with some sort of a broth. Sometimes I would add other vegetables, but that's it. There's no protein to it. And, you know, eventually I'll get hungry. Or if I add cream to it, then it's heavy. It's not on the, you know, the healthier side. So one of the recipes, and that's one that you're taking, this pumpkin soup has canned white beans, or you can add dried white beans to it. So the white beans add that creaminess, it gives you that protein that you need, and it's very filling. So, you know, you can have that as lunch by itself, or, you know, if you're one of those people that enjoys a soup and a salad, so maybe you can have less and then make a sandwich with it. But that recipe, you know, it's beans and pumpkin. But again, the prominent taste is pumpkin, because white beans are not as, you know, their flavor is not that prominent, like, let's say, kidney beans or red beans. The third one is, like some of you mentioned, they use it in dinner, and there are 2 recipes. Today we're going to sample, I'm going to make the creamy pumpkin pasta, but you're getting both recipes, the pumpkin chili and the creamy pumpkin pasta. The pumpkin chili is just like any other chili, but this one is made with turkey meat, but you can add, if you prefer, you know, regular meat, you can do that. Or if you're vegetarian or vegan, you can remove that altogether, and just, because it has beans, you can just remove it, and that also works. The trick here is just to add some, basically, with your tomato. So since it's, you know, pureed, it's very easy to add to your curries, or to add it to your sauces or your soups, and for batters as well. You can just sneak it in with batters. And then the creamy pumpkin, I'll talk more into details when we start the cooking. The fourth way to cook it is a snack. So you can make a pumpkin parfait, and that's what we're making today as well. Pumpkin parfait works as a snack, as dessert, as breakfast. It's super versatile, and it's one of the easiest recipes that you'll ever see. So I'm going to also show you this one. And then there's the cranberry pumpkin muffins, and you'll get the recipe. Again, it's on the healthier side, it's light, it's something sweet. You know, if you enjoy something sweet in the afternoon, that, you know, and then you can freeze the rest. Once you need, you know, pumpkin muffins, you can take it out and heat whatever you need. And then the last one is, of course, pumpkin pie. I'm not going to make the pumpkin pie, but you're going home as well with the recipe. What's different about this pumpkin pie, there's healthy before it. So there is no crust. It's a crustless pie, which makes it a little bit on the lighter side. And then it's more of, I would say, a custard. It's pumpkin puree with eggs, and then, you know, the flavoring. So it's more on the, I'm not going to say it's super sweet. So if you enjoy maybe sweeter desserts, you might not feel that it's really sweet, but then you can add other sweet things to it. Like, for example, if you enjoy vanilla ice cream, you can, you know, have a scoop of vanilla ice cream to it. But, you know, the concept behind that was to try and make it a little bit healthier, you know, with less sugar, less fat. And then even it's made with condensed milk, but the condensed milk that's used is low in fat as well. So you can make those adjustments as you see fit. All right, so with that, oh, you know what? Before we go to the cooking part, right now, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, or if you'd like to speak up once we're doing the cooking. But you're also getting the recipes, as I said, and you're getting the 5 ways flyer that you see over here. And then this is my email. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out, ask me a question. And by that, I'm going to stop recording and then turn my other camera on. So you get to, we're going to try and make it a cooking show style. Let's see. Okay. Can you see this?
I'm going to spotlight it.
Yes, perfect. And I'm trying, all right. So this way, you know, you get to see me from one side, and then from the other side, you get to see my hands, which is easier. So I'm going to start with the creamy pumpkin pasta, but I'm going to turn my oven on, so my stovetop on.
Razan, while you're doing that, we have a question. Is there any health benefit to using fresh rather than canned pumpkin?
That's a very good question. So usually fresh is, you know, it's the best that we can get, but also canned, you know, if it's very difficult for you to get fresh, or you don't have time to prepare the fresh, then I would say, you know, canned is as good. Nutritionally speaking, if the company that's, you know, the place you got your canned pumpkins, if they, you know, preserve them at the right time, then nutritionally wise, they're as good. I hope I answered their question. So for the pasta, I'm going to go ahead and share with you the ingredients. First of all, we're going to use 1 tablespoon of olive oil. Then I'm going to use, I'm going to saute the 1 clove of minced garlic with it. And then I'm adding some chopped mushrooms, just to give it, you know, some substance. And then, sorry, let me check the ingredients just to make sure I have everything. And then for the creamy part, instead of, you know, adding cream, I'm using 1 cup of low-fat milk, and I'm going to use cream cheese, but 1/3 of, you know, just this much, 1/3 of the cream cheese, and which is roughly 2 ounces. And then once that simmers, we're going to add some of we have pumpkin. So we're going to add 3/4 of a cup. And then for the spices, we're adding thyme, dried thyme. All right. And then half a tablespoon of teaspoon, sorry. And then we're going to use half a teaspoon of sage. And then the recipe asks for fresh rosemary, but I didn't have any fresh, so I'm just going to go ahead and use dried. And that's another trick, you know, if you don't have fresh, it's fine. And then some salt. And then I already cooked some pasta, some brown pasta. Once the sauce is done, I'm just going to go ahead and put it in the same pan. All right, let's see. And then can you see my stove top? Okay.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do the oil. And then if there's questions, we can definitely take them right now while I'm just adding everything. It smells good, you know, garlic when it's cooked, when it's cooking. I wish you can smell it. So I'm adding the mushrooms over here. All right. And it's the nice thing about these recipes, they're super quick. So they won't take a lot of time. And the nice thing again about if you enjoy, you know, creamy tastes, I feel like it's healthy comfort food since it's, you know, creamy, but not really that creamy. Let me get a spoon. We'll do. So we need to put the cream cheese and then wait for it till it melts. That's the thing that takes some time.
And Razan, how many servings is this for?
So this is for 3, but the nice thing about the recipe, the link that you're receiving, you can put how many servings you want and it'll calculate for you the ingredients. So if you know you're a bigger family, you can put 6 or 8 and it will tell you how much you know you need. Can you see? So the cheese melted. Once the cheese melted, you know, you can add the pumpkin. So we need 3/4 of a cup, which is, I'm just using the cup right now for demonstration purposes. Okay. You know, but usually you can just, you know, estimate or guesstimate, that works. All these recipes are forgiving. I don't know if you're like me where, you know, you use the canned pumpkin for 1/4 of a cup when the recipe asks for 1/4 of a cup and then you're stuck with an entire can, not knowing what to do with it. So I don't know if any of you have ever experienced that. You know, you try a dessert where you need 1 tablespoon or a 1/4 cup and then you're stuck with the rest of the can.
Razan, there's a question. Can you use coconut or almond milk?
Absolutely, absolutely. You don't have to use milk. You know, you can add the creaminess by adding coconut, and even you can remove the cheese altogether if you know if you're trying to go vegan or you know if you're allergic to dairy. So once it's done, you just add the herbs.
And Razan, you said it's forgiving. Can you use regular cream cheese versus softened or whipped cream cheese?
Oh, absolutely. You can use any cheese you have. Actually, I used whatever I had at home. But you can use, and you can just omit it altogether. If you have cooking cream at home, you can also do that. But this is a healthier version again. You can see the color. It's, you know, a little bit on the orange side. Since there's pumpkin, and then there's a little bit of salt. I think it's 1/2 teaspoon, if I'm not mistaken. I like to add pepper. There's no pepper in the recipe, but I personally like pepper. One of the, you know, sometimes disadvantage of pepper is it colors it if you don't like, you know, seeing your black spots, but I personally enjoy it, especially when it's fresh. So I'm just going to add that. And then once it's done, you just add your pasta to it, and that's it.
Razan, there are some questions. One was, how long will canned pumpkin last in fridge once opened?
So it's recommended to use it within 2 to 3 days max, and try and have it closed. But then if you don't know what to do with it, you can, you know, take it out, put it in a Ziploc bag, and you can freeze it. So the good thing is it can survive the freezer for, I personally like to freeze it for up to 4 months max. But if you have those vacuum sealed freezer special, not just a regular bag, then I read one time that you can actually have it in the freezer for 18 months. But regularly, if you're just using a regular freezer bag, then it's 4 months.
And then you already You already said that you instead of the cream cheese to make it non-dairy, people can use almond or coconut milk.
Absolutely. So almond is the one with the least flavor. So if you, because coconut, you might taste it. So I would use almond, but you can also use oat milk as well. Oat
And
milk
then-
is closest to milk, and that's it. It's done. And then we can plate it. Hold on, let me. Are we good on time, by the way? I just need to check.
It's 11:22. I think so. Nancy, what do you say?
Okay, so once, it's done, let's bring it back here. The good thing about the Parfait, it's super quick, and you'll see.
The other question that is there for the dried rosemary, is there something you can do with the rosemary to use the flavor if you don't like the actual rosemary particles in the food?
Oh, that's a good question. You can just omit it altogether and it's fine because there's other ingredients. So you can add, if any herbs work great with it, and that's it. So what do you think? Does it look good?
Yes,
I
to
need a
me.
yes or a thumbs up. All right. So for the second recipe, which is very super easy, it's the pumpkin parfait, and you won't believe how quick this is. So for that recipe, you just need half a cup of yogurt, low-fat yogurt. You can add vanilla yogurt if you like, or if you're trying to go dairy-free, you can use, soy or coconut, whatever you like. So that's it. And then you need quarter of a teaspoon pumpkin spice. And if you don't have pumpkin spice, you can use cinnamon. And you need 1 large tablespoon of pumpkin, pureed pumpkin. So you can add that. You add it to your yogurt. You add your yogurt. And that's it.
Oh, wow.
I told you. It's really, and the nice thing about this one, you can also add, if you like granola, or if you like cereal, for a little bit of crunch, or if you like nuts. So for breakfast, if you'd like to add cereal to it, you can do that. Or just like this. I personally, I know people that use graham crackers with it. But, if you're trying to go a little bit healthier, then, you can just have it like this with a little bit granola.
Hey, Razan, there is a question about the previous dish. It says, could turmeric be used in previous dish?
Definitely. The only thing is, turmeric has a distinct flavor. And if you love that flavor, you can absolutely go ahead and add it.
We also had the recommendation that chives might be good in the last one.
Yes, absolutely. So these are our 2 dishes. They're both, orange in color, slightly orange, super easy. This one can be used, the parfait can be used as a snack, breakfast, or even dessert if you're trying to go lighter. And then the pasta, which is creamy, but not really creamy. It's cheese, milk, and the pumpkin. The nice thing about the pumpkin puree, it gives it that thickness, creaminess. So if you're even trying to, as I said before, you can even omit the cheese altogether. And that's it. And if you try the recipes, please, I'd love to know if you like them, what are your thoughts? Sorry, my chair is in the shot. Yeah, any other questions?
There is one question. It says, if we use almond or coconut milk, do we need to add anything else to thicken it, since the cream cheese thickens the original recipe along with milk?
So you can add cornstarch to it. You can add, if you like it, more thick, you can add cornstarch. And in soups, if you're making a soup and you'd like it to be thick, you can add a little bit of potatoes, and they'll thicken, the starch in the potatoes will thicken the soup.
Okay, so more questions are coming in. Does the pie recipe require it to chill overnight?
No. No, it's, you just bake it and then, you know what, let me double check. To my knowledge, it's not, but I just want to double check just in case. Um, nope, no, you don't need to.
And then some other comments about it looks great.
Thank you. I hope you try it. And as I said, those recipes are super forgiving. You know, if you don't like a lot of pumpkin, you know, reduce it. If you like more, add more. If you like to add, if you like more garlic or shallots or different herbs, by all means, you can do that.
Do you have a favorite brand of canned pumpkin?
No, but the only thing is when I buy the pumpkin, I make sure that it's 100% pure pumpkin. And then I personally like no preservatives. So I look for something that says no preservatives. And then I make sure, you know, I read the label, make sure there's nothing else added to it. And by the way, if you have a lot of pumpkin at home, you can cook that and then put in a blender. It'll become a puree, and then you can put it in Ziploc bags and put it in the freezer. A pureed pumpkin, it's not recommended that you can it at home. Not like, you know, other things. You can cube it and can it, and then once it's, you know, you open it, you can mush it. Because when you mush it, the temperature, you won't be able to get to the center of the pumpkin, and that might be a great place for bacteria to live. So you can just either cube it and can it if you're into canning, or you can just cook it, mush it and puree it and put it in the freezer in small Ziploc bags. So every cup, let's say, or, you know, however you use it.
So there's another question. What about the sugar count in canned pumpkin? What level is diabetes friendly?
So it's, let's look at this can, for example. So one serving is 45 calories, which is super low. And then if you look at the sugar contents, it's 5 grams per serving. So basically, it depends on, you know, how diabetic you are, what you're doing. So it's better if you, of course, check with your healthcare provider, but it is not high in sugar. But it has 5 grams. So it's not, you know, there is some sugar. Any other questions?
Can you share some of the other recipes? I know that everybody's going to be, we're going to send out the recipes in an email. Can you share with us the other recipes that are included and talk a little bit about the class that's coming up in December?
So yes, you're going to receive all the recipes. They're all links. So you'll get one document with all the links, with the names. There's a table with the name of the recipe and then the link. And for next week's lesson or session, it's going to be about it's going to be 5 easy lunches. I still didn't pick up the menu yet, but they're going to be 5 easy lunches. They work for adults, and then I'm going to find ways to, if you have a family, you can also make them children friendly.
Okay, we're going to, we want to thank you, Razan, for sharing all these incredible recipes, making us all very hungry and appreciating the pumpkin and how easy they are. Are there any other questions from anybody here? We'll stick around for a few more minutes. We want to thank everyone for joining us today.
And thank you definitely for all the great questions. I hope you try the recipes and, you know, let us know your thoughts. And please feel free to, you know, send me in if you have any questions. And thank you for all the thank yous. I really appreciate it.
And we have a shout out for zucchini in a future class. So
we could definitely think of that. Maybe, you know, once zucchini season rolls out. The 5 series for most of them are canned for this time. So we have canned beans, canned tomatoes, we have rice. So they're all pantry staples, but we can definitely, for the future, think of ways to incorporate fresh.
Yeah, then we have cauliflower, broccoli, butternut squash, zucchini.
Sweet
So,
potatoes.
By the way, butternut squash, you can do a lot of the things with pumpkin. They work with butternut squash since they're cousins in a way. You
Well,
can,
that's-
yeah.
that's good to know.
Especially, with things like soup or a pasta dish or a curry dish, they definitely work. They're interchangeable. And the same thing with cauliflower and broccoli, they're interchangeable.
Okay, great, Razan. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, but we'll still stick around for a few more minutes.